What's up, fam? Unlock your dream relationship. We are excited.
Yeah.
We're excited. I know it's going to take a while for people to pop on in here.
But also, welcome to everybody who's watching on the replay. We're excited you're here too.
What's up, everybody that's joining us? Let us know your name, where you're from, where you're tuning in from.
Yes.
This is Unlock Your Dream Relationship Masterclass, and we got a lot of fun that we are going to get into tonight.
Yeah. Let us know where you're watching from, your name, what you had for dinner, if you're still eating dinner, maybe you just got home from the gym or something. Let us know what's going on.
How you doing? You good?
Yes. I'm glad we have some nice tea. It's a nice way to relax at the end of a long day, you know?
Absolutely. What's up, everybody that is joining us? Put your name and where you're from in the chat. We're just giving everybody a chance to log on and make sure that they can join us. So let us know where you're from, what your name is. We would love to know. If you're wondering what this is, it is Unlock Your Dream Relationship Masterclass.
Yeah, that's one of the things that people are always curious about. Man, why am I not in the relationship I want to be in? What's wrong? What's going on? What is God doing? I'm not saying we're going to give all the answers. We definitely don't have all the answers. But we're going to have some fun conversations tonight and hear from you all. We'll share a little bit about what the Lord has put on our heart regarding that topic. So it'll be a good time. It'll be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So we can see that there's people on here. So let us know where you're from. You don't gotta be shy. We would love to know where you're from, what you're hoping to get out of tonight. And then we might just get started.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's today's Wednesday.
Let us know where you're. Okay, here we go. Savon, I hope I said your name right. Forgive me if I didn't, but you're from Maryland. What's up, fam?
Carlos from California. I love
California.
that.
Okay, West Coast.
So what time is it? It's 5:30.
5:30 in Cali. So shout out to you for joining us.
So light out there.
Yes, we appreciate it. Joanna from New York. What part of New York are you from?
East Coast.
I said it right, Savon. Let's go.
That's a pretty name.
Let's go. What is something that you're hoping to get out of tonight? Anybody can put it in the chat.
Yeah, what made you all join? North Carolina, another East Coast.
What's
NYC, up? Maryland, South Africa. That's awesome.
South Africa.
What time is it in South Africa?
Yes, please let us know what time it is.
Just open to knowledge and being equipped. I love that. Open heart.
I
open
like that.
Hands.
Would you say that's Diane? Would you say?
I'm not sure.
From South Carolina, Charleston. Forgive me if I butchered your name, but we're so grateful that you are here. We're going to start in a couple minutes. We're just giving people a chance to log on. 2:33 a.m.
Woo!
You're not sleepy? Goodness gracious. We appreciate you being here.
That's 6 hours ahead. That's amazing.
Is that only 6? Wow.
Only? That's a long time from now.
2:33 sounds crazy.
Carlos said more wisdom, knowledge, clarity.
Amen.
I love that. Amen. God will do it. How to level up my relationship. Ooh, that's exciting. So that means you are in a relationship. That's awesome. We have some cool nuggets, good nuggets for people who are already in a relationship.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, Diane without the E. Very cool.
Let's go.
Very, very cool. I like that a lot.
All right, so we're going to get started. If you're ready, say, I'm ready. Sounds like y'all already are by these comments, and we're really excited. We want this chat to be popping and engaging all night because it's going to be fun. And we will do some Q&A at the end.
Yeah.
So if you have questions, write it down, and then you can put it in the chat
at the end.
The end. I'm ready. Let's go, Carlos. Let's go, Savon. We're going to do this.
But yeah, feel free to comment, interact with us and each other in the chat as we're going throughout the night.
So this is Unlock Your Dream Relationship, as you all know, where we are going to give you the tools that you need that are going to take your relationship to the next level, which I know a lot of you want to do. Now, before we go forward, we should have mentioned this earlier. We have a workbook for this masterclass tonight. Some of you may already have it, but if you don't, it's not too late to get it. It's $5. It will really help you dive deeper into a lot of the content we're talking about tonight. And there's some things that we're not going to have time to touch on tonight that will help you. So if you're interested in that, you can scan the QR code there and it'll set you up. But if not,
and if you already purchased it, I know some of you already have it, which is incredible. You guys are A+ students. You can get it out now, whether you have a digital copy or you did go ahead and print it out. It might be helpful for you to use to take notes. Or if you don't have the workbook, go ahead and take out your piece of paper, your phone, whatever it is that you're going to be taking notes on, preferably a piece of paper, to be honest, because, a lot of distractions on the phone. But now is a good time to get those out to take notes.
Yeah, absolutely. So not sure how many of you know about us or how much you may know about us, but just to give a quick brief background, our name is Tim and Pauline Wheeler. We've been married for 6 years now, which is crazy.
Yeah.
We have 2 boys. And before that, we dated and we were engaged for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So depending on, let me know in the chat, actually, is that a long time to you? Is 2 years, 2.5 years dating and engaged? Is that a long time? Is that just right? Is that too short? Would love to know your thoughts on that.
And everybody varies on that.
Yeah, especially as a Christian.
And we weren't each other's first relationship by any means. So
but first Christian relationship.
Yes.
For sure. So we've been dating since 2015, or we started dating in 2015 and we got married in 2018. And during our dating season, we really felt like there was not a lot of information to help us date well. And I can see Hope said that 2.5 years is just right. So, okay. I'm glad.
It didn't feel just right. Let me tell you. It did not feel just right.
It did not. But when we were dating, we were like, yo, it's not a lot of content because you got to think in 2015, TikTok didn't exist. Instagram was not what it is today. YouTube wasn't even really quite as used as it is today.
Not from like an education standpoint. People used it for like hair and like funny videos and like, singing cats and stuff like that.
Diane, you never dated. That is okay. That just means you are not as scarred as some of us who have gone through unhealthy relationships. And Kim said, no, build a friendship first. Yeah, we're going to talk about that a little bit. That is crucial. Absolutely. So long story short, us looking for information to help us date well, we went on this journey and started a small group at our church at the time where we came together with other couples who were dating and we were like, yo, we got to figure this out. What are you doing well? Here's what we're learning. And it really grew from there. And it turned into us having a podcast, which some of you may know about, the W podcast, and ultimately hosting a course where we've helped singles and dating couples walk through how to date in a healthy way. And we'll talk about that a little bit later today. But we're super excited to kind of talk to you more about what you're going to get out of tonight. But first, I know you want to share how they're going to get the most out of today.
Yeah. So obviously you all are here, all different time zones, all different areas of the country and the world. And we're so excited about that and really value and respect your time. And we don't have a ton of time together. We wish that we could kind of hang out with you guys on a regular basis and continue this conversation because we're not going to be able to cover everything about dating in a godly, healthy way in one 60-minute session. But we do want to help you get the most out of the conversation we're going to have tonight, which of course is all about unlocking your dream relationship. So the first one is you need to lock in. That means whatever's going on around you, beside you, whatever, we just got to block it out. Now is the time to get rid of the distractions, to silence your phone, to turn off the TV. If you're cooking while you're listening to this, just take a break, eat a granola bar, whatever it is. Like, you're not going to be able to get everything that God has for you if you are not fully locked in. And we really believe that the Lord has something to share with you and for you tonight. But we want to make sure that you are completely open and listening to the still small voice that he's speaking to you in. The second thing is to be honest. You want to really sit down and ask yourself some hard questions tonight about where you are, where you've been, and where you want to go and where you believe the Lord is leading you to go. It's very easy when it comes to our dating life and our love life to kind of have these rose-colored glasses on about kind of where we are or where we've been or even type of person that we are, what we're looking for. So we really need to sit down and be honest with ourselves tonight. And the third thing is to be open. Y'all, we're going to challenge you. Like, we really consider, ourselves to be friends, and we want to be friends and friendly to you. And good friends, sharpen and challenge one another. That's what the Bible tells us to do. So we're going to give you some hard things to think about tonight. We're going to give you some kind of weird ideas and things you maybe have never heard of before, you think sound crazy. And they are crazy and they are countercultural. But let's be honest, what you've been doing isn't working. That's why you're here. So we want you to be open to new ideas, to new approaches to dating, and whatever is rubbing you the wrong way, write that down and take it to the Lord the next time you all talk and allow him to show you what it is that he would like for you to do and why.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know we have some things of why people may be here or if this is really the best use of their time.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, we're all about valuing your time. And we want to do that tonight. That's what our goal is. So we created and kind of slaved over this work and over this this information that you're going to receive tonight for years. And we created it for a specific type of person. And that person is somebody who wants to have a healthy relationship one day. So whether you've dated multiple times, you've been in and out of relationships for the past decades, whatever. Or maybe you've never dated at all. Maybe you've never been in a relationship or never been on a first date. That's okay. As long as you want to have a healthy, godly dating relationship one day, this workshop and webinar is for you tonight. Yeah. It's also for people who, you are dating, but you're not sure if the person that you are dating is God's best for you. Maybe you guys hit it off on, a lot of major checkpoints, but there's some of them that you're just really not sure about. And we have a lot of information and some good points for you if that's you tonight. And the last person this webinar is for is, you think that the person that you're dating is it. You think that it's going to end up in marriage. You think that, everything is going really well, but you are somebody who wants to be sure you're sure because, who you choose to marry is the second most important decision you'll ever make in your life. Like, we're talking about legacy here, who's going to be the father or mother to your children. And you can never get enough wisdom when it comes to making that huge decision. So if that's you, you're in the right place.
Yeah. Now, who is this not for?
Yes. And, because we are so passionate about this work in this space, we know that it's not for everybody, and that is okay. It's not for you if you're comfortable in your relationship. I know some people on here have already found somebody that they really enjoy and are maybe even in love with and considering marrying. If that's you, that's awesome.
But also, really, when we say comfortable, we mean you're not looking to grow. You're
right.
Like,
exactly.
What I have is, it's okay. It's good enough.
Because like I mentioned, we do have challenges in here. So if you are not open to the challenges, if you're not open to new ideas, like, this really is not for you. You're not going to get the most out of it. Second person it's not for is if you are somebody that doesn't plan to date within the next 3 years. Maybe you've just gotten out of a really complicated and painful situation. Maybe you are just not focused on dating right now, or, pursuing a godly relationship. You have too much going on. Or you just know you're an unserious person when it comes to that area. Like, kudos to you for being honest, but this is not for you. And then the last person this webinar is not for is if you have no interest in a godly relationship. And really what we mean by that is you have no interest in God's influence when it comes to your relationship. If you're the type of person who's like, hey, I'm going to choose who I'm going to choose to be with, and if God doesn't like it, I'm okay with that. Or if you're like, hey, if God tells me to slow down, to speed up, whatever, if you're somebody who does not value the voice of God and his word and his values, then this is not a webinar for you.
Yeah. So everyone wants to have a healthy relationship. If you agree with that statement, put I agree in the chat. Everyone wants to have a healthy relationship. And I believe that's true, because if you think about it, everybody wants to have a great house with their spouse. Everybody wants to have great sex when they're married. Everybody wants to have kids if that's something that they want. Savon says, I agree. And everybody wants that. Synthemba, I don't know if I said your name right, so please forgive me if I did not, but we love you all the way from South Africa. Kim said, I agree. Diane said, I agree. And if we all agree that everyone wants a healthy relationship, why is it that most people don't? Sometimes we don't ask ourselves simple questions like, why is it that everybody wants this and yet it seems so elusive?
Right.
And we believe that there are two main reasons. There's several, but we believe there's two main reasons why a lot of people are not able to unlock the dream relationship that God has for them. And the first reason is this: we don't know what we should be doing.
Yeah.
Some of us in this chat, we haven't dated before. Some of us, we don't know what books we should read. And we just don't have that practical wisdom to help us pursue a relationship or date, and if we're already in a relationship, the right way. The second thing is we've never seen a healthy relationship. For some of us, Cynthia, I'm glad I said your name right. I see you. I appreciate you. So we've never seen a healthy relationship. That's clear vision. Now, I don't know about you, but I came from a home that was divorced, and that can negatively affect you in some ways. And then there's some people who your parents were married, but maybe there was a lot of pans that was thrown in the house, or maybe there was cussing or slamming or doors slammed. And we all come from different situations that can affect our ability to really have a true understanding of what a healthy relationship is. So before we even get into the 3 keys that we have for you tonight on unlocking your dream relationship, we want to set the foundation, because 2024, you can't assume that everybody knows the same things, that everybody's on the same page.
Right.
So we want to make sure everybody is caught up to speed tonight. And if you're in this masterclass, I know that you are somebody who wants to date God's way, but just in case you aren't, why should I try dating God's way? Let's unpack that real quick. So if you can actually go to the next slide, because I want to do that one first. And that's what you believe matters. See, if a person, and you can look this up yourself, all of these stats that we're going to throw at you tonight, if a person has a strong religious beliefs, the risk of divorce is 14% less than someone who doesn't. It's really important to stand up for what you believe in, especially in the area of relationships. We've seen so many people who are on fire for God, who are serving him. And then as soon as they get into that relationship that they've been begging God for, they end up forgetting him or forgetting principles that could set them up to honor him in the relationship. And we don't want that for you. Now go back to the last one. The second thing is boundaries are biblical. So if you're going to do godly dating, you've heard me say this before, you can't do godly dating if you don't have boundaries.
Yeah.
It just does not exist, because there's certain things that you can't do. There's certain places you shouldn't go if you are trying to honor God with your relationship. There's actually statistics that show living together prior to marriage can increase the chances of getting divorced by as much as 40%.
Yeah.
And I know some people have difference of opinions on that.
Yeah.
And we can get into that in the Q&A later if you want. But that's just something you want to be mindful. Doing God's way always works out when we actually do it God's way. There's a speaker who says you have 100% chance of success in marriage if you do it God's way.
Yeah.
And we wholeheartedly believe in that. Skip to the third point. The third thing is you want to remember that rewards await those who wait. Now, there's studies that show that Americans who have only ever slept, sorry, Cynthia, that we only got Americans data for this point, but Americans who have only ever slept with their spouses are more likely to be and report that they're in a very happy marriage. Now, I know some of y'all just got depressed because y'all like, look, I wish I had known that 10 years ago, but I didn't already sailed that ship. Right. And if you are like us, it's okay in the sense that God is a redeemer. Yeah. See, before me and Pauline got together, we both had sex outside of marriage before we came to know Christ and came to know each other. And after we decided to live for God, we committed ourselves, hey, we're not going to have sex before marriage. And it's so cool to see how Jesus is a redeemer and can restore that part of your life. And I like to think you would say you in a happy marriage, a very happy. Yeah. Would you say that? All right.
Would you?
Yeah, I would. I like that. Good. So what's the next one? Stability is more likely in a Christian marriage. Active Christians are more likely to marry and less likely to divorce than the general population. And you can't be an active married Christian before you are also an active single Christian. Yeah. So that's why we're so proud of you for being on this masterclass tonight, because you're setting yourself up for success down the line by trying to figure out, how do I get this right now? Because healthy marriages start with healthy dating. We truly believe that. Obviously, you can start off wrong and you can get married and you can turn things around. Yeah. But why go through unnecessary pain and heartache if you don't have to?
Yeah,
if you can if you can start off on the right foot today, let's do it. So after laying that foundation, making sure we're all on the same page, who's ready for the 3 keys? Put I'm ready for the 3 keys in the chat, or you could just put 3 keys if you don't like typing all that. I feel you. Synthemba said you can't do godly relationships without boundaries. Yes, that's what we said, and we truly believe that. I think there's a lot of people who may disagree, but I'm so glad that you agree with us. So you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's get it.
All right. So the first key is that you must intentionally prepare for marriage. If you're taking notes, this is the first thing that you want to write down. So you may be saying like, duh, okay, I get that. And a lot of you who are already on here, because you're already on this masterclass, you're already taking that step and demonstrating that that habit of intentionally preparing for marriage, getting knowledge, getting wisdom, reading books, attending webinars, watching sermons, having conversations, all of those different things. A lot of it, honestly, is asking questions. That's going to get you so much wisdom from married couples that you respect and know near and far.
Yeah.
So what do we mean by intentionally preparing for marriage? Now you may be asking, why do I need to prepare? Is it marriage natural? Isn't it something, as long as I find the person we click, we get along, I'm attracted to him or her, and it's mutual, like, won't everything be hunky-dory, Disney World, happy ending? Absolutely not. The truth is, most people don't prepare for marriage. And that's probably one of the reasons why we see the divorce rate at what we do. So many people are disappointed when they get into marriage. I thought it was going to be like this. I thought it was going to be like that. So you do need to prepare, and this is why. Number one, you'll be happier in your marriage. Couples who go through premarital, pre-engagement education and counseling, they learn how to fight fair. They learn how to have arguments and have disagreements, and that they're productive. They learn how to have productive conflict. They know how to take care of one another, to think of one another more often. They report to have a happier marriage, because y'all, these are life skills. These are marriage skills. This is not something that you just wake up and learn how to do, how to affirm your spouse, or your boyfriend or your girlfriend. These are things that you work at. And the other reason why you need to prepare is you'll be stronger. Most couples who participate in some type of premarital or pre-engagement counseling education program are 30% stronger in their marriage than couples who don't. And 30% may not sound like a large number, but it makes a huge difference when you are in the day-to-day throes of life and marriage. The third reason why you need to prepare for marriage intentionally is that you'll save time and money.
Yes.
One of the things that Tim always jokes about in the relationship that he had before he became a Christian, because he thought he was going to marry that girl. He invested a lot of time into that relationship, but he always would roll his eyes at all the money that he spent.
I wasn't even making money at that time, or any money at all. So I just can't imagine when you are dating somebody or multiple people.
You have a full-time job, yeah.
You have a full-time job, multiple
$500 dates.
And all that money that you're spending, and you could have saved that and done it.
Right, stuff. And a lot of people feel that way, as like, oh, I don't want to just go on a date with anybody, or kind of invest my time and money. And I think that that's wise, but how much more so with marriage as well. So you're about to combine your whole life with this person. You need to make sure that you are doing your due diligence, that you're vetting. You wouldn't just accept a job offer without looking on the company's website, having conversations, doing an interview. You do a lot of research before you make such a big commitment. How much more with marriage? I mean, most people, the only preparation that they do for marriage is signing the marriage license. Like, most people do not even do a 6-week premarital counseling program. That would really save them a lot of time and money. So you may be saying, I'm just dating. Why do I need to prepare now? Isn't this something that you do when you are engaged, when you have a ring? We've already decided this is my person, and we're going forward to marriage. That is what most people do. But again, we don't want to do what most people do, y'all, because most people are ending up in a divorce, or that's they're unhappy. Not what we want. Absolutely. So the reason why you need to prepare now is because the ring blinds you. Most engaged couples, they're already out there. They're already purchasing venues. They've already purchased a ring. Their grandmother's already booked a flight to Cabo. You've already put down a $5,000 deposit, on your caterer. You've already invested so much time that red flags that you're noticing in your partner when you're going through, premarital counseling, if you even do it, or as you're going through the stress of engagement and preparing for marriage, those red flags start to look pink. And then they turn yellow, and then all of a sudden you're just laser focused on that wedding date and just getting through the wedding instead of focusing on actually building your marriage. Most people invest more money, tens of thousands of dollars, into their wedding and only put $75 into the marriage license. Like, that is ridiculous. So those couples who do have a tendency to ignore their character flaws, they're overlooking a lot of rough patches that are going to show up again in the marriage after the wedding is over, even in the honeymoon sometimes.
Yeah. And we agree. Cynthia said the focus is usually on the preparation of the wedding and the marriage itself. And the wedding can be very consuming. It is very consuming depending on what type of wedding you're trying to do.
Right.
So we get why that happens, but that's why we're so glad that you're here tonight, because you're already starting your focus off in the right direction.
Right. And again, we don't want to do what culture does. As Christians, we are called to be set apart. The Lord literally says, come out from among them and be thee separate. We don't want to just be consumed with our weddings, because that's what we see on social media. Because a lot of those people who have these big lavish weddings, they're on your, what is it called, newsfeed or your Explorer page one weekend, and the next weekend you don't know what's going on in their marriage, and you don't want to be like that. The second reason why you need to prepare now versus later when you have a boo or when you are engaged is preparation produces security. A lot of pre-engagement counseling, and notice we're saying pre-engagement, not just premarital. You can and should seek education and counseling programs before you get engaged because of the ring blinding you. It provides that extra layer of security before engagement. And that's why it's so valuable. And some of you might be saying, like, oh, why would I do pre-engagement, pre-counseling? It's just going to make me break up with the person that I'm with. I mean, the honest truth is most of these couples break up at some point. Wouldn't you rather break up a relationship with a boyfriend or a girlfriend than have a divorce? I know that I would. Either way, if that's not the person that God has for you, it's going to be revealed. You might as well find that out sooner rather than later. And if that is the person that God has for you, you will have the extra layer of security. When you guys are engaged, you're going to be able to look back and say, wow, I'm so glad that I know this is my person, that we have these really important conversations before we were blinded by the ring and the chaos of weddings.
Yeah. So you must choose the right person. That's the second point. The first one was you must intentionally prepare
for marriage. Yes, absolutely. And you must choose the right person. Like, that sounds good and sounds easy, right? What do we really mean by that? It's not really who you're choosing, but how you're choosing. So you may be asking, how do I choose well? I've chosen before. I've tried apps. I've tried church. I've tried the gym. I've tried work. All these different things, and they just haven't ended up well for me. Well, the first point is that you want to use referrals and date in community. So many times you kind of take on this burden of like, oh, I have to find somebody on my own, or maybe you don't have family members that you feel are well connected enough with good catches or the type of person that you're looking for. But in 2024, the most common way people met their spouse is actually through a friend, and that's honestly been common and practical for decades and centuries for people being kind of matched up. And it still applies now. Obviously, online dating works for a lot of people, but it's even better. We've heard a lot of stories of people who they'll meet online, but then they ended up going to the same high school together, but they just weren't friends and they went to high school.
Yeah. And let us know in the chat. Are you open to online dating? Have you tried it? Curious what your thoughts and experiences are there.
Absolutely. I'd be so I'm just shocked, but I think if you're here 2024 and saying we'll never done online dating, that's pretty rare. The second way that you can choose well is to be sober-minded. So couples who met in bars were 24% more likely to get divorced than expected. And the reason for that is a lot of times we're putting ourselves in these environments just like, hey, I'm going to go where the numbers are in my favor, especially if you are a woman of color. You feel you're constantly being told the ratio is against you and there's less men than there are women and all these different things. So you're like, hey, maybe I need to expand my horizons. Maybe I need to kind of lax up or lay up on my standards and what I'm believing God for. Absolutely don't do that. You know, when you're in these certain environments, those people that you're around are not going to produce the type of relationship that you're believing God for.
Kim said she has not done online dating yet. She's scared, which I can understand why you could feel that way, because you don't know who's on there. And Carlos said he's getting to know somebody in Florida. Hope that's going well, my guy, for sure.
Yes.
The last point, you must get biblical information. And again, these all sound like very simple points, but the work that comes behind the simplicity is what matters.
Yeah, and not even the work as well, but really the consistency. So some of you are sitting here saying, like, okay, yeah, I know that I should use my community, but like, did you do it once and then gave up because it didn't work? Or have you been consistently every quarter checking in with your married friends, checking in with your pastors, with your family, saying, hey, have you met anybody new? Whatever the case is, you can't just try something once and be disappointed when it doesn't work out. So to dive into this, getting biblical information, what does the Bible say about dating? Because that's one of the main things that people like to talk about and that we've heard is, the Bible doesn't talk about dating. It doesn't have that word in there. It doesn't have boyfriend, girlfriend in the Bible. And you're absolutely right. But the great thing is that the Holy Spirit and God in his word has given us so much wisdom that does apply to dating. So these standards and these points that we're pulling out here aren't the only wisdom, of course, on dating, but this is kind of the beginning lens that we believe that the Lord wants you to take when it comes to how to choose well, and that biblical information is going to even help maybe the way you see people and the way that you approach your dating relationship. So the first thing that we want to share that the Bible says about dating is in Mark 12. It tells us how to treat others and how to treat yourself. It says to love your neighbor as yourself. So this is one of my favorite verses and my favorite pieces of wisdom and instruction that the Lord gives us, because it really makes us take a step back and say, how do I treat myself? Am I hard on myself? What's my inner kind of dialogue? How do I encourage myself? Am I doing that to my neighbor? Am I doing that to the person directly next to me, no matter how different they are from me, no matter how the same? Am I only seeking out people who are like me? Or am I only seeking out people who are the exact opposite of me? It's just kind of a very question that brings up our self-awareness and how we treat ourselves, and knowing that, number one, that's how the Lord wants us to be, is to be loving, first of all, to ourselves and then also to our neighbor, but also somebody that you're interested in dating. How are they treating their neighbor? How are they treating themselves? Because that's going to be a huge factor when it comes to marriage. And I also believe that this verse highlights that, it kind of puts a limit on us. You cannot love yourself better or worse than you love your neighbor. So if you have a hard time loving yourself, you are going to have a hard time loving your neighbor. If the person you're interested in dating has a hard time loving themselves, they're going to have an even harder time loving you.
Yeah.
So the second thing that we want to highlight in relation to dating from the Bible is how to view marriage correctly. In Ephesians 5, it lets us know that a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined with his wife, and the two shall become one flesh.
Yeah, and I'll say for this point here, it's really important that you remember why you want to get married.
Yeah.
So many times people want to get married because they want to have sex, if we could just be honest, or they want to get married because they don't want to get lonely.
Yeah.
And we don't want to get married solely for those reasons. Those aren't bad reasons if they're kind of supplemental or additional, but if the main reason isn't I want to get married so that I can represent, as the Bible says, marriage is a representation of how Christ loves the church and died from the church and came from the church, and that relationship. And we want to be an example to the world. How I love my wife is how Christ loves us, or it is an example. Now, it's not the best example, because obviously I'm a human and I'm fallible, but Christ loves us so well.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's huge. A lot of times it's, our desires are really selfish. It's not really about, Lord, I want to get married so that this can be, bring you glory. And when we have that approach, to marriage, it changes the way that we approach dating. It makes us more open to, okay, maybe I'll go outside of my preferences. Maybe it doesn't matter if he's not 6 foot. Maybe it doesn't matter if she doesn't, have long hair or have a certain skin tone or whatever. When that's not your focus, when your focus is not about fulfilling your own fleshly desires, you move different and you make different decisions.
Yeah. And the last point
about under this is the Bible tells us how to make wise decisions. Proverbs 11 lets us know that when there's no counsel, that the people fall. But in the multitude of counselors, there is safety. And this is so, so, so huge. And this is a verse that very much guided our dating experience and helped us. Honestly, we wouldn't be together if it wasn't for, counselors and wise people telling us, like, hey, you should consider one another. And I think that it's so hard to do the older you get, because you're like, listen, I got a job, I got a house, I got a car. I'm kind of out here making my own decisions. People come to me for advice. I manage X. It's just so easy to say, like, I'm too grown to ask for help. I'm too grown to ask somebody, hey, what do you think about this girl that I met on Tinder? Hey, what do you think about this guy that, wants to take me out for coffee from my job? Like, it feels very vulnerable. It almost feels like, am I asking permission? It's like, no, you're not asking permission. The same way that you really need to ask permission from God, number one, but the same way that you might send call up your girlfriends or your guy friends, mostly girls, and say, like, hey, I want to wear this dress to this event. What do you think? What she may say will kind of encourage or discourage your decision. It's the same way with dating. Or maybe guys would say, hey, man, I'm thinking about putting this, player on my fantasy team. What have you heard about it? You know what I mean? You're just looking for some more perspective on your situation. You are still making your decisions at the end of the day, and you obviously have to answer to the Lord. But there's so much wisdom and safety that the Lord literally says safety in counsel. So we want to make sure that we're using that in our dating life, something that's so vulnerable. Something, again, y'all, like, these decisions that you're making in your dating life are going to change and impact your legacy. This is the father or mother of your future children. Like, this person is going to take on your last name, or you're going to take on theirs. Like, these are big, big, big time decisions. For those of you who pursued higher education, how many conversations did you have with your guidance counselors, with teachers, with parents, with uncles before you chose the college that you went to? Like, there was endless kind of conversations about what should I do, gaining perspective, that childlike faith and independence. And we need that same type of support in our community even more now.
Yes, and Thimblip said perspectives. You might get to see a side of you didn't see when you have counsel, which is 1,000% correct. So we just want to step back for a second and let you all know that we have been where you are. This picture on the left is from 2015, and it's from when Pauline and I were just friends. We had no interest in each other. We were not even looking each other's way. It literally was just friends in this picture. So we know what it's like to be single. In this picture, Pauline was crying out to God, there's no options, Lord.
Was I in the picture?
There's no options, Lord.
I was not, but anyway.
You told me that you
not in this picture.
I'm not talking about this picture. I'm
okay.
talking about in this season of your life.
I just was annoyed. Like, God, there's nobody. That's what I was like.
And little did you know that a few months later, we would end up dating. And this picture on the right is from when we were dating. So we know what it's like if you're in a dating relationship right now, what it's like to try to navigate boundaries and emotional intimacy. How do you get close with somebody, but then not get too close where you want to get close, if you know what I'm saying?
Wow, it's a poem.
We've been there. we know what it feels like, but we've also been where you want to be, and that is your wedding day. This is the dream outcome that everybody wants on your wedding day with your best friend, with your friends and family cheering you on. And the interesting thing is there's been millions of people who, go back to that for me, but show my face if you wouldn't mind. There's been millions of people who have had this same outcome. They've had their wedding day where they're madly in love, but 50% of those people have ended up in divorce.
Yeah.
Why is that? Why is it that there's so many people who are so excited the day of, and then they get to a place where they no longer want to be together. And most times it's because they did not pursue wisdom on how to stay married. They learned how to get married, and a lot of times they didn't even learn how to get married. They just ended up in a relationship, but they didn't learn the principles you need to keep you rooted in a relationship that's healthy and grounded. So you have 3 options tonight. And like we said, we're so proud that you are here because you're taking a step to learn. But some of you, after this, you're going to choose to do nothing. You heard this and it was, a cool little session, but you're not really going to do anything with the information you learned. Some of you, you're going to choose to do it alone. Maybe you'll be like, hey, I learned some information tonight. I'm going to try to muscle my way through this dating journey. But then there's some of you who are going to be like, I know I need help. I know that I want to be around some like-minded people who can help me grow in this area of my life. And if that's you, we want to introduce Just Dating University, the blueprint for godly dating. It's a course that we created that we've helped other singles and couples go through to help them learn how to date in a healthy way. In 6 weeks, if you decide to join Just Dating University, you'll be able to answer the tough questions of Christian dating. Like I mentioned earlier, how do you build emotional intimacy? What boundaries should you have? Mm-hmm. How do you have conflict? Like, what does that look like? We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how to get clarity on how to find quality dates. Maybe some of you are in this chat and you're like, listen, there are no options. Kim said that she used to feel how Pauline felt, where there was no options in her vicinity. We're going to teach you how to find quality options because we believe we found a method. And then also we're going to help you be able to identify in JDU the person, if they're God's best for you. We're going to help you do that. So how does JDU work? I'm glad you asked. There's 4 different courses inside of JDU. The first one is the freedom before a godly relationship. So here you're going to learn what God thinks about you and how to embrace his love. And can I be honest, y'all? This is so important. Yeah. Like if you don't get this part right, I don't know if you can get a healthy relationship right. Because if you don't truly know what God says about love and what he thinks about you, it's going to be really hard to love somebody in a godly way because you're still trying to figure out if God loves you or how to really understand what love is, patience, kindness, self-control, all of those things. We're also going to help you learn how to thrive no matter what season of life you're in. I don't know if anybody will be honest enough to put in the chat, but we know that there's some people who are like, listen, I'm sick of being single. I hate it. I'm ready to get out of here. Or maybe you're in a relationship and you're like, I'm sick of being dating. I want to be married. I want to be booed up. It's about to be cuddle season out here.
That was
And the last point is we're going to help you be able to put yourself out there without feeling rejection. Some of us, the reason we're not in relationships is because we're scared to even put ourselves out there.
Very real.
Because we're scared of the rejection that may come on the other side. So we're going to help you get over that. Second course is the foundation of a godly relationship. Here we're going to help you strengthen your friendship with your partner and with those around you. And I dare say this is one of the most underutilized, underserved, under-talked about topics in the relationship space is friendship.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, a healthy marriage cannot exist if there's not a healthy friendship between you and your partner. We'll talk more about that. We're also going to talk about how to prioritize your personal needs through appropriate boundaries. See, everybody has separate boundaries. When me and Pauline, some of you may have heard our story, when we were dating, we had different boundaries. And how do you stand up for and stand up and talk about the boundaries that you have and stay firm on them? And then how do you work out the boundaries somebody else has? And what does that look like when you're going through a dating relationship? We're also going to help you gain the wisdom you need to be successful through mentorship and community. As we've been talking about all night, you cannot do dating alone. The third course is the framework of a godly relationship. So here you're going to be able to get the tools that you need to have healthy and effective conflict. Who will put in the chat and be honest, when you were growing up, you either like conflict or you didn't like conflict?
Like it too much or you avoided it?
Did you like conflict?
I did. I created it. I was kind of experimented with it. Yeah.
I was not a conflict guy.
We know.
Did not like it. They don't know.
I know.
So we're going to help you get the tools you need to be able to have healthy and effective conflict. Because what's sad is so many people, they have that dream outcome of when they get married. And the reason they got divorced is because they never saw their parents argue.
Yeah.
So they think the first time that they have an argument in their relationship, that arguing is bad and maybe we're not meant to be together.
Right.
And that is not the truth. Carlos, I feel you that you don't like conflict. I don't like it either. But I had to learn that conflict actually isn't bad. if you do it right,
Right.
it actually helps you move forward towards the goal that you two have together.
Right. There would be no makeup sex without conflict.
So we'll talk all about that. We'll also talk about how to identify your strengths and how to pair them with your partners. You'd be surprised how many people get married and then they're jealous of their spouse or they're annoyed. You've heard the term the opposites attract. Well, a lot of times you get married and the opposites attack, and you have to learn, how do I look at what my partner has and their strengths, and how do I maximize that? And then how do they maximize the strength that God has given me? Because the truth is, when you're married, you need each other. And we're also going to help you learn how to ask the right questions to connect on a deeper level. This is that emotional intimacy into me. You see, how do I get to know somebody on a real level? And that comes through intentional questions.
And that's super valuable because the couples that we've worked with, so many of the girls will tell me like, oh my gosh, how do I get my boyfriend to talk? Like, I'll ask him a question, how's your day? It was good. And it's like, okay, what else? Like, what happened during your day? And like, men and women's communication styles are so different. Some people say that men are like waffles and women are like spaghetti. Spaghetti, everything kind of just melds together and is touching each other, versus waffles are very compartmentalized. They have their own little separate squares. And that is so true, y'all. But how do we work that out? Because a lot of times if you're in a relationship, especially if it's your first relationship as a Christian, you feel like, oh my gosh, are all Christian guys like this? Do all Christian girls want me to spill my guts, for 2 hours every night? And it's like, yeah, I mean, how do we got to work through this? How do you make it work and make it valuable for both of you?
Yeah. And the last course in JDU is the future of a godly relationship. Here, we're going to help you learn how to involve your family in the dating process, whether you're close to them or not, whether they're Christians or not, because the truth is, somebody's family can teach you a lot about the person that they may not even be able to articulate. Like, there's things I learned about Pauline. I understood more about her when I was around her family. Like, oh, okay, I see it. It makes sense. You can't get that unless you know how to build that relationship or at least talk about family.
Right. And a lot of people just, kind of leave their family out of the dating process, especially the older that you get, because you don't need them for permission, but it's such a blessing to the person you're dating for them to get to know who raised you or who's involved in your life, and vice versa. Obviously it's different for everybody. It's like when that's appropriate, but we definitely don't want you to wait until you're engaged to meet your future mother-in-law.
Yeah, we're also going to help you learn the 4 practical areas you need to discuss with your partner, or the 4 areas you should discuss with your partner before you get engaged. And then also determine, we've been dating for 6, 8, 9 months, 2 years, 5 years, hopefully not. When is the right time to get engaged? We talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
So you also are going to get 6 live weekly Q&A sessions with me and Pauline going over the course material. For 6 weeks, we'll be meeting weekly and going over, hey, this was in the video that we talked about. What is that? What do y'all mean by that? Or how do we go about that? And then also, it'll be an opportunity to join with your classmates who are going through the course and be able to build community in that way. So what are people saying about JDU? You may not realize this, but this is not our first time that we've launched this. We've had several iterations and we have some
2
feedback.
years, yes. So Matisa said that she could write an entire thesis about the positive impact the course has had on her life. It was the best investment that she could have made in her singleness. She appreciated the authenticity, transparency, and genuine heart. The description of the blueprint to godly dating is nothing but facts.
Yeah.
Chavez said that it gave him a godly perspective on dating that he'd never been introduced to in different areas. He now has a working list on what he needs to work on during his singleness and what to look for in a spouse while spying out the land and dating. And I love this this quote and this snippet from Chavez, because I think some people hear about JDU and they're like, oh, well, I don't have anybody. I just am waiting and praying for the Lord to bring somebody my way. And of course, keep doing that. But also at the same time, a lot of times when we're waiting, God is calling us to work. God wants us to work on ourselves before something new can come, so that when that relationship comes, when that person comes, it's a blessing. And also, working on yourself will change the way you see. So you may see somebody different. Your eyes may be opened to an option that you never considered before you actually changed. And that change can happen in JDU. And Becca said that her experience in JDU drastically impacted her perspective of singleness, dating, and marriage as a Christian. She learned so much about herself, what she actually wants one day, and how to become the person God's called her to be during singleness.
Yeah, so you may be wondering, what's the investment? Y'all done talked about it. What is the investment? And let's talk about the cost to hire a dating coach first, because that can range anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000, which is just crazy. And JD was nowhere close.
But people pay it, and it's valuable, and it helps.
Right. Now, in JDU, there's 12 video lessons. Those courses that I talked about earlier are all inside on-demand access videos that you'll have inside JDU, which is about a $997 value, but JDU was nowhere close to that. There's also going to be a digital workbook for each course that we have. You'll be able to go through the workbook and dive deeper into what we talk about and be able to really spend some time with the Lord and say, hey, I learned this. What do you think? And go deeper into that. So that's total value of over $1,200. But again, JDU is going to be nowhere near that price. So the investment for JDU is just one payment of $197 or $70 a month for 3 months. And if you're interested, you can go to justdatinguniversity.com. We have a lot of information on there to learn more about the program, or you can scan that QR code. Now, for some of you, you're like, oh, that's nothing. I'm ready to sign up now. I am ready. But for some of you, this may be more of a commitment that you really need to pray about and say, Lord, is this something that you want me to do? We encourage you, wherever you find yourself, definitely take it to the Lord and pray and see if this is a next step that he has for you. And if he does, we would love to have you. If not, we totally understand and hope that this webinar in and of itself added value to you. And like we said, we're going to have some Q&A at the end. So whether it's about JDU or anything you learned on the webinar tonight or anything in general, we're going to answer every question that we get tonight. But there's some bonuses that are also inside JDU that we haven't even talked about yet. So you'll also, completely free, you're going to have 9 couple questions inside JDU. These are intentional questions on different topics like friendship, conflict, emotional intimacy that are going to help you once you're in a relationship, talk to your partner. You're going to be asking them these questions. What do you think about family? How many kids do you want to have?
Yeah.
What does it look like to talk to you when you're angry? Different things that are going to help you learn the person, because that's the key to having a healthy relationship, is truly getting to know them. You're also going to have 8 ways to thrive in a long distance relationship. So some of you, your next step isn't somebody that you know. Maybe you really don't have any options. Maybe your next step really is dating somebody that is in different states, maybe different countries, who knows? And we want to help you do that successfully. We're also going to have a video that's going to talk about how do you date with kids? Because let's be honest, as we get older, the likelihood of somebody having kids that we're dating is going to increase. Yeah. And that's not a bad thing. We actually do a video here with a couple who was married for 20 years. And when they were dating, one person had kids and the other one didn't. And we talk about, how do you navigate that? What does that look like? So all of those are valued at $351 together, but they're completely free if you join Just Dating University. Again, you can go to justdatinguniversity.com to learn more. So here's a recap of everything you're going to get. You're going to get the 12 video lessons on demand. You're going to get the workbook. You're going to get the 8 questions or 8 keys to thriving in a long distance relationship, as well as the couple questions. So we have a fast action bonus, y'all. If you purchase JDU tonight, no matter what level you purchase on, you will get a secure ticket to our next dating mixer, which, Lord willing, will be happening in 2025, most likely spring. And you can scan the QR code there to sign up. But if you purchase tonight, it's not tomorrow, it's not 3 days from now, it's if you purchase tonight.
Before 11:59.
Now, if you don't know anything about our dating mixers, they kind of blew up on social media to the point where we had a 20,000 person wait list for one of our events.
Yeah, I don't know if maybe that's somehow how some of you all found us, was through the dating mixers. But our mixers are super unique, and you may have been to a mixer before, or even a Christian mixer. But the reason why our mixers are so special is because they are a 1-to-1 ratio. This is a very intimate event. For every 1 male ticket sold, there's 1 female ticket sold. Because for any of you, let us know in the chat if you've been to a Christian mixer or just a mixer in general. A lot of times people
300 women and 3 men.
Yeah, people call it like a sausage fest. It's like, how am I supposed to meet any guys? How am I supposed to meet any girls when the ratios are so skewed. So this was something that we pursued and saw great success with it. But the Savon's friend is in the picture, so she knows that it's real. Yeah, we've had some awesome experiences, heard people going on dates, people really just feeling encouraged and feeling seen through these events. And they're actually a lot of fun. So we cannot let everybody in order to honor the 1-to-1 ratio. But we are going to prioritize our JDU students. So if you purchase tonight, you will get a secured ticket to the next one. You get to skip the 2,000 person wait list if you are in JDU. And we did on our JDU students.
Did I say 20,000?
You did.
My bad.
2,000, 20,000 is crazy. That's a whole college, a large college. Yes, we did have a 2,000 person waiting list last year. So if you want to skip the line and also prepare your heart for maybe who you might meet there, that's how you can do that.
All right. So if you are ready to invest in yourself and your future today, go ahead and sign up at the QR code there or justdatinguniversity.com. We are going to take some Q&A. If you have questions about anything, we would love to stick around and answer it. So feel free to start putting your questions. Okay, Carlos, just invested. Let's go, bro. We are so excited to have you join Just Dating University, and we are definitely going to have a good 6 weeks. We're going to learn a lot, and I'm excited to see what God does with you and your love life the next 6 weeks. But any questions that you have, anybody about JDU, about this masterclass, maybe something we said that you're like, I want to know more, or anything about relationships in general, you got us, and we are going to answer your questions. And
also, to be clear, JDU will be open until Tuesday night. So if you do want to take some time to pray about it, or you're like, hey, I just, not ready right now, it will be open. Enrollment will be open until Tuesday.
Yeah, absolutely. And we just want to say thank you to everybody who joined tonight, whether you joined JDU or not. We're so grateful that you would take an hour out of your day to learn anything we had to say about relationships. We've been praying that God would speak through us, and we hope that he did. We hope that you got some type of next step, that there was some value added. And again, if you have questions about JDU, feel free to let us know here. Feel free to email us at connect@wearejustdating.com. We would love to answer any questions you may have, or just send us a DM at wearejustdating. We're not hard to find, like Coach Prime.
Oh my God.
We ain't hard to find. No. Carlos is ready to put in that work. That's what he said. I love that, man. Hey, Carlos, if you know any other guy friends, JDU is definitely better with friends. If you have any friends, or it can be women as well, obviously, let them know about JDU and let them know the benefits. If they have questions, let us know, and we would love to answer them. Any questions they have, or see them in JDU. And JDU will start next Wednesday night. Shauna, I hope I said your name correctly. Yes, let us know your question. We would love to answer. Senthimba, no questions from my side. Just grateful for the session. First of all, we're grateful that you joined us all the way from Africa. Like that's crazy. To us,
I love South African accents as well.
Yeah,
if you don't have one, that's okay. But I'm just saying in general.
We just appreciate you even knowing about our page first and foremost. So glad that it was helpful. Hopefully, Shauna, we'll wait for your question. Again, I hope I'm saying your name right. Any other questions? Anybody else signed up already? We want to celebrate you. Shauna, we didn't forget about you, but we want to know, did you forget about us?
Oh
Maybe
my
your question is long. That's
Yeah,
okay.
that's what I was thinking.
What's one thing, because there's people still on here, so what's one thing that you took away from tonight? Would love to know one thing that maybe the Lord highlighted to you that you took away from tonight's session. It's long. No worries, fam. We got you. We'll wait for you. Anybody want to put one thing they took away from tonight?
I'm gonna wait on you.
Synthemba said the importance of boundaries in counsel. Yes. We're telling you, boundaries especially is something that can easily get overlooked because we're all grown and we like, I want to do what I want to do. We're sick of people telling us what to do, but you forget that boundaries are meant to protect you. Boundaries are there to keep you safe. And if you put the right boundaries in place and you honor those boundaries, because how many people put notifications on their phone and then they don't honor it?
Yeah.
Hey, drink some water, stand up. And it's like, nah, I'm good right now. And it's like, if you would just
Maybe
do
next time.
the boundaries that you set in place, your life would be better off. Any other takeaways? Okay, Shauna got her question and let's go. She said, there's a guy, he's Christian, but is not a man of God yet. How'd that work? And he said so himself. He's not born again, but I am. And so we aren't equally yoked, but I see myself with him in marriage and the future. Do you want to answer it?
So what's your question?
I think her question is, that's a good point. Let me not assume. What specifically is the question? Because that's the context. And maybe she's still writing the question. So forgive us if we jumped ahead, Shauna. But I think I know what you're trying to ask, but I want to be sure. I see some other people still on here. Would love to know your takeaways. Maybe they long too.
The Lord is speaking.
And if you are just joining us, Carlos said, learn how to properly and intentionally ask questions. Know how to ask without coming off strong. That
was my problem.
Really?
Yeah, people used to always say that I was an interrogator and it's like too intense. So it's like learning how to ask questions. But I'm like, these are important questions.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I feel you, Carlos.
One of the best things you can do in a relationship is have specific time where you can ask questions. So maybe in your relationship, you have, hey, whenever we go out to eat, when we're waiting for our food, this is the time where we can ask each other intentional, deep questions. Or maybe every Tuesday night, we set aside 30 minutes where we can talk intentionally. Sometimes that's better because people will come into it knowing what to expect and they're not caught off guard.
Right.
Like, yo, I was not expecting you to ask me that.
Right. Because nobody wants to feel like they're in trouble. And it's like, I'm being cornered.
Savannah, are you saying that you're asking what boundaries you should have?
This?
Oh, intentionally preparing for marriage and engagement. I think she's
boundaries. Those are her takeaways. I
believe.
Believe.
Awesome. Well, that's Savannah. That's not Shauna. Sorry, Savannah. Siobhan, Shauna, here's her comment. Goodness gracious. He moved back to his country, so we're distant right now, and I want to wait until I feel like he's ready. I remember not arouse love until it so desires. I don't know what to do. It sounds like you know what to do, Shauna, and you just need some encouragement, so we're going to give you that. It sounds like you need to give this man some space. He seems like he's still figuring things out, what country he wants to live in, what Lord he wants to serve. I don't know exactly what is going on in his life, but I do know that you being in it may make things even more complicated or slow down the process of him being able to develop and learn whatever God wants him to do. So I know it may be hard to do that because it sounds like you may like him or have some feelings. But in order for you to not get hurt, it may be best for you to back up until this man is ready or God presents another man to you. Hopefully that was helpful. I know it may not have been what you wanted to hear, but it's the truth. All right, we're going to wait for like another minute or two to see if there's any questions, any other questions that come through. But if not, We really appreciate you all. We're so grateful for, like we said earlier, you spending 60 minutes with us. If you're interested, remember JDU is going to stay open as far as registration for the next week or so, or really until Tuesday night, like Pauline said. So you have until next Tuesday. Our first JDU session is going to be Wednesday. They're all going to be recorded and live. So even if you can't make it on a Wednesday, you will still be able to get that recording. Savon said, what do you do if the person you're dating has a certain perception of the church and church people, quote unquote, would like for him to visit with me at least once? Good question. I don't know if you ever got a question quite like that.
It's a good question, Savon. A very real situation. I think that, of course, a lot of this is just the first thing I want to say is having a conversation with him about why you want him to come to church with you and what church means to you, what God means to you. Because, of course, there are people who believe you can have a great relationship with God and not go to church. And it is true. You can have a great relationship with the Lord, love his word, worship him, talk to him, hear from him, all those things, and not go to church. But I do think that it is really hard to love someone and neglect their wife. So if you are dating somebody...
Well, that's why you said it's possible to have a great relationship.
It's possible because it is possible. It just all depends on your heart. So if you are in the military or you are working or you are sick or you're in the hospital and there's things going on that you can, and you are not able to go to church.
Okay, not want to go.
All right. That? Okay, fine. Yeah, but that's not what she said. She said has a certain perspective. I can visit with me at least once. But yeah, I think, obviously Tim and I are married, and if he has somebody who's his best friend or is a close friend of his, and they're like, yo, Tim, you're my boy. I love playing basketball with you. You're so cool, blah, blah, blah. But your wife, Pauline, don't really bang with her. Can you and I hang out? Can I come over to your house and make sure she's not there? Like, not a friend anymore. Like, to not even, and even if there was history between me and that friend, like there was some beef or something that needs to be worked out, it's like, listen, if Tim was going to be friends with that person continually, we would have to repair our relationship. There's no me without him, him without me. And the same thing goes for God and his church. So if you're dating somebody and they're like, yeah, I love God, he's cool, that's my guy, I consider myself a man of God and I, pursue the Lord and all these different things, but I don't go to church, it doesn't make sense. It's disjointed. Because if you really know God, like you say you do, you know how much the church means to him. You know that he sent his son, Jesus, to die for the church. So God doesn't play about the church. And also that person, I think people who kind of don't prioritize the church don't realize that they are the church. So there's something to be said, if they have a certain perspective. I think depending on your relationship with this person, Savon, like how close you guys are, how long you've been dating, whatever, I think it's definitely worth a conversation. Because if it's something that, and you ask him like, hey, I noticed that you don't, want to go to church, or you've told me that in the past that you don't want to go to church, and you're not, it's not a matter of, I'm in between churches and I just haven't found a church yet that fits for me. If you're with somebody who's shopping for church, is fine. That shouldn't be going on for months and months and months though. But if you have a conversation with him and he's like, yeah, I have no interest in going to church again, I'm good where I'm at, just me and God, my spirituality, I would have a conversation. When did that start? Why did that start? What do you think God thinks about that? Because I've been reading in my Bible and this is what I'm getting, and it, helped me understand your perspective. You're not ever I would never come at it trying to correct him or trying to tell him what to do. Well, if you're going to be with me, you need to go to church. No, because this is just your boyfriend. This is not you can leave this relationship, in a second or stop dating him. So it's kind of like, this is honestly, it's one of those things that's like it's a deal breaker if we're being honest. Because if you continue with the relationship and he doesn't change, it's going to cause problems in your marriage. It's going to cause problems when it comes to children and where the kid's going to go to church and who's going to marry us and what doctrine are we following, who's covering us, things like that. So that's what I would I'm long-winded as some of you guys. So my answer, what would I do? I would have a conversation, see what his heart is as a result of that conversation. What do I walk away knowing? Do I walk away knowing, okay, he is very hurt. Some things have happened to him in the past at church through church people, but he is willing and wants to get help. And I support that and I can encourage that. But if I walk away from that conversation, understanding why he is where he is, but also understanding that he's not willing to change, it's not my job to change him. And if the Lord wants me to be with this person, God will speak to him, because we need to be aligned on this.
Savon, let us know if that was helpful, if that made sense. A great question. Might have to be a podcast question one day in the future. I like that a lot.
Yes, hopefully that was helpful, but it's a very it's a heavy topic. I think it's super important. I think it's great that you're asking that question and not just hoping that he will change.
She said this is so helpful. Praise God.
I will say too, hopefully I'm not trying to come across like, oh, it's just so easy, just dump him, because that's not what I said. I said have a conversation and then see what happens at the end of the conversation. But if the Lord is leading you to walk away from that relationship, God will bring something better, I promise, because you are honoring him and you're honoring the vision that the Lord has given you for your future family. And if you know that it includes you and your husband going to church together, raising your kids up together to know the Lord and to go to church together, which he is, that is a very simple and kind of like basic standard of a Christian family. God will honor that, and he will give you somebody to help you do that. Because also at the same time, I didn't even get into this, we're talking about you choosing a husband who's going to be the pastor of your home, and it's going to be very hard for him to pastor without his own community and his own support system and his own vision and his own pastor. So yeah, it's very serious. Leadership in the home and leadership amongst men is very big. And I don't think that the guy that you're talking about or any other man in his position wants to be a bad leader, but I just don't think that they have good friends or people in their community to say, hey, bro, I know you're hurt, but the Lord can heal and he can redeem and he wants to, but will you let him?
If there's any more questions, we will wait for a little bit longer.
We love talking to y'all.
A minute. But it looks like the questions are slowing down.
Yeah. Which is fine. It's late.
Once again, thank you all so much for joining Unlock Your Dream Relationship. If you're interested in JDU, tell your friends about it. One more question. Samantha, with a long distance friendship, when y'all are in the building stages of that friendship, how can one navigate this towards showing interest in one another?
Friendship question. I love that.
Where are y'all building the stages of friendship? Long distance friendship. Is this, Samantha, is this a relationship that you're hoping will grow into a romantic relationship? Because it says long distance friendship. Just want clarity.
In it, one another. Navigate this towards showing interest in one another. She said low key.
Low key. Well, just be careful. You want to make sure that the feeling there is mutual, because sometimes when there's a situation where one person likes the other person and is hoping that it may go somewhere romantically, and the other person is just looking at it as a friendship.
Yeah.
You can get in a little hairy situation because you begin to give more of yourself than the relationship has a commitment level for. And the other person is like really just trying to be friends. And then you're trying to low key make it a relationship, and you get upset if they don't share certain things that you're willing to share, or maybe you want to do certain things that they're not looking to do, or maybe you take whatever they are doing out of context and you can think, and I'm not saying this is your situation, Samantha, but just in general, somebody could be like, oh, well, they did this for me. That must mean they like me too. And you just want to be careful that unless somebody tells you, hey, I like you, we don't want to assume that somebody does. But as far as just building a friendship, I think it's just like any other friendship. It comes with time. It comes with intentionality as far as looking to get to know the person. It comes with remembering things that they tell you and bringing it back up. So they say, hey, I got this work assignment that I'm doing. It's really stressful right now. It's going to be due next week. Following up later that week or the next week and be like, hey, how did that go? Or asking, how can I pray for you? Or how can I support you? Those are little things that definitely can go a long way in building a friendship. And that's something we go much deeper into in JDU, is how to build that friendship. Because like we said, it is super important to make sure you are building that friendship, because that's what keeps you ultimately when you're married, because there's going to be times when life hits and you're not going to look for somebody who you think is sexy. You're going to look for a friend to be able to talk to be able to walk you through that situation.
Very real.
It's really important. So I'm not sure if that answered your question, Samantha.
Because Samantha really asking, how do I shoot my shot? How do I get him to notice me from hundreds of miles away? How do I get him to see that I'm interested? That's what I was like trying to read between the lines.
It did.
Oh, okay.
Amen. So glad it was helpful, Samantha. We love y'all. Appreciate y'all. If you are watching the replay and you made it this far, we really love you. That's some real commitment right there on the replay. But it's been a great night. Hope to see some of you all in JDU, but if not, until next time.
Bye.